that in the next Mishnah.
Pseudo-klal that you're going to then extrapolate.
Exactly. That's a transitional sentence, right? It doesn't actually have to do with what we were saying about ne'emanut, or it does. I guess it does have to do with ne'emanut, but in a different way, right? It's about what kind of product somebody would be ne'eman about, and here ne'eman really means ne'eman that he received it as matnot aniyim.
So why is it tacked up into this Mishnah?
So that was one of the points I wanted to make. That the division of the Mishnah to Masechtot is early. The division of the Masechtot into Prakim is also early. The division of the Mishnah to Masechtot is very early. The division of the Mishnah to Prakim is early. We know that the Gaonim, for instance, would learn Prakim very much the way that we learn in Yeshiva at Perek, although they would learn it in 2 weeks out of the year and then go home and start learning a different Perek. Whatever, the way that the Gaonim operate is of interest, but not really that relevant here. So we know that Prakim are pretty early. The division of the Mishnayot into individual halachot is less early. Later would even be the way one might say it. It might be that this should belong to the next Mishnah. It might be that, as Matt said, it connects forwards and backwards. I don't know. It doesn't bother me too much that it's here, but it does have a certain amount of force. You kind of have to know the next Mishnah in order to understand what exactly is going on here, and the Yerushalmi will have to deal with that to a certain degree. Brad,
I'm sorry, I retract.
You retract. Okay.
I have a question though.
Tyson.
Just sticking with the wording of this, not questioning why is it here.
Mm-hmm.
Should we be reading this as the things that Bnei Adam were, that there were no vote at this time that's frozen in the Mishnah, or is there an implication of fluidity in that statement?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean by fluidity, and what do you mean by
they were Neman at one point in time, they were Neman forever?
Is this meant to be a static or dynamic relationship? That we consider them only to be Neman on the things that they are accustomed to doing, or that normal people do.
Mm-hmm.
Is that meant to be normal people in the framer of whoever's writing this, or normal people in the framer of whoever's reading it? Meaning, is there an implication of fluidity over time?
It's an excellent question. What do you think? Considering the next Mishnah, how would you read it?
Not knowing the next Mishnah, I can't answer that.
Okay. Wait, did you say not knowing the next Mishnah?
Yeah. So I can't do it in consideration of the next Mishnah.
It's clearly, I think, fluid over time and place. I mean, they bring a list of
what it is
here.
now.
Yeah, right. These are the things that people generally take as leket and shef and pan, wherever. But that's clearly, I think, is intended to change if you go to a different country or. Yeah,
I think it's good. I think that's a good read. You're right. That sentence, "Enan ne'emanin elo davar sheken derech bnei adam liot nehagim." Right? It sounds like a kol lefi minhag. Dafka, Tyson, I feel like your question is stronger considering the next Mishnah, which gives us specifics. Certainly, we've seen places where it starts out hakol lefi minhag, and then the continuation is this is the minhag. And when we look in the Gemara further on, they certainly understand to mean strict things. When you only see nohagim, you would think exactly like Pete said, right? Clearly it means, right, whatever the minhag is. When you have the attachment of now further specification, your parish doesn't fall, Pete. That's for sure. You could continue to be mefarish the way you say. On the other hand, you start to have a question of, but maybe they really do expect this to be the nohag.
But even this list of things that they give in the next Mishnah, this is not anywhere close to an exhaustive list of all the different crops that one might have,
Correct, but there may be a place. I mean, we see in the Tosefta there's a place where they use, fallen olives for, or in the Yerushalmi also fallen olives. They crush. They make shemen out of it and give it to the aniyim, or they make wine out of olelot and give it to the Anim and that kind of thing. So there's definitely further things, but
I think this next mission is more supposed to be demonstrating, frankly, the type of food processing that they're talking about,
right.
rather than just limiting specific species.
No, you're absolutely right. It's the processing that we're talking about,
Right.
Which presumably is something like what we're talking about previously also. Although you're right, it is talking in the other case. It might also be in the first Mishnah might also be talking about species. I guess my feeling is that one could easily take the next Mishnah, the third Mishnah, I should say, and give it an ossified meaning without too much difficulty with the it's a possible interpretation, perhaps not the best, but certainly one that isn't absolutely out of the question. Yes, Matt.
And a two-part, slightly broader question about what we were discussing in terms of the way the Gemara is relating to the Mishnah, in terms of seeing it as exemplary, as this is examples that we then extrapolate into our own time versus reading it as fixed categories. That the Bavli definitely has a tendency to do the latter in terms of reading it as these are the eternal sort of set and not as examples for others. A, in what way does the Yerushalmi also do that? And B, why do we necessarily see that trend as opposed to reading more? I mean, there's a general trend to see Mishnah more along the lines of scripture and therefore every whatever in that trend, but why do they not also view it as exemplary and casuistic in that same way?
I think that's an excellent question. I'm going to ask you if you're willing to... Everybody think about Matt's questions for the next 3 seconds, but we're going to put it aside. It's a question more about the next Mishnah than about...
But part A, does the Yerushalmi do the same thing as the Bavli in that sense?
Not to an equal extent. As in everything, the Yerushalmi is much more amorphous than the Bavli, so less so, right? You wouldn't characterize the Yerushalmi as doing...
But there is that
doing the
quality.
same thing. You find it in the Yerushalmi in places. I feel like I could... that's not. You have to realize that's not really an answer. That is to say, yeah, you can find it here. Everything in the Yerushalmi is this kind of like, you find it in some places, you don't find it in other places.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that's missing entirely, or...
No, it's not something that's totally out of the question for the Yerushalmi. Okay. Let's look at the Gemara. It gets pretty complicated with regard to with the Shita of Rabbi Lezer and the Chachamim and how it fits. So let's start and stop just before the business of Rabbi Elazar Jeroma. Menashe, can you read?
I would
Rather pass. Tyson.
With great pleasure. Alechan. No, how far are we going to take this name on it? Okay. Omar Rabbi Chanina. Ad lekom shadako leilach lavo bo beyo. There seems to be some question here as far as like the distance that will bring things. I'm not sure. Is this like how far the field is, or how far the produce is meant to come from?
Did anybody understand the Arechan?
I think it's like how much of these things are we going to allow the guy to have and still consider him Naaman. That if this guy ends up with an entire barn full of stuff that says, "Oh, this is all shikha," do we believe them? I mean,
what did the Machon of the Yerushalmi say on this
How
issue?
far it's away from the field or something.
What was that?
Literally the physical distance, not the quantity. Though the Maisa that we get might seem to imply quantity because we've got Hamishas Kolin.
But
But
I think it's the same thing though. That assume that you can only the amount of shikha that you or payroll that you can take is dependent on how far you go from your home. That if you say it's only like, we're going to only allow you to go like a quarter of a mile away from your home, that's a small radius, and there's only so much stuff that there you can possibly get. So if you end up with like 3 barns full, you didn't get that from within a quarter mile of your house. So I think the distance is actually a measure of.
I'll accept it. I'll accept your answer for full credit. However, the only reason I'm bringing it up is just for the sake of precision. When it asks Adechan, Tyson read it as, how far are we going to go with this Naamanut?
I understood that to be an actual distance, a question of
No,
distance.
it appears